Okay, so we're going to continue with Tzavi. We're holding Seif Lamed Ches. Just do a quick review. We begin to discuss Bdika, that she checks using an aid to check herself, and she discovers a ketem that could either be round or could be moshuchi, elongated. And this is going to make a difference. This particular, the various examples, the various halachas that deal with this Bdika is going to make a difference not only in the shape and size, but also the very important fact, that she checked herself in that mokum. So here, we're not discussing, no longer discussing so much a ketem, the typical ketem that is found on her body or on a garment, even though we're going to be coming back to that, the various halachas, and what happens if she finds a ketem, a stain, her gown, a gown that she wore, a gown that she lent, then she discovered it, and so forth. But there's quite a big difference when we're dealing with an aid is the cloth that she used to check herself, to cleanse herself. And when we're dealing with that mokum, she discovers a ketem on it. More likely than not, it came from inside. Now, the problem is that sometimes an aid could become exposed to the elements. It could technically receive a stain from another source. It could be that it was already bloodied from before. In other words, there are possibilities that could arise other than her body. Now, we're used to this concept of being toile. Toile meaning to attribute the ketem to some other source. But for some reason, we saw that in these various halachas, when a woman checks herself, we're being more machmir. We are mekel at times. But in general, there's more of a chumrah here. And the reason for that is very simple, is because the likelihood is that the way she checked, where she checked, it's very possible that it came from the makor. And therefore, in Seif Lamed Gimel, the Mechaber was very, very clear that even if she found a tipa kechardal, it was small, forget about the grease already, even tipa kechardal, like a small mustard seed, and regardless of the shape, and even if you saw a louse smashed on the aid, right, we say she's tmeya. Why? Because more likely than not, that's where the blood came from. There's no louse inside. So we're not going to, suspect that the dam necessarily came from the louse, even though it's on it. We're much more machmir in that particular situation. The Mechaber went on to give some other examples. One of them, for example, if you recall, was that she took the aid and she put it on her pillow, mattress. And that's already bringing up additional possibilities that would not exist if she took the aid directly from the makor and looked at it, even if she put it down. By putting it underneath the pillow or a hard surface, a mattress, it's very possible that there was a bug, there was something there, and as it is, we're toile, in some we're mekel. If it does not have the shear or more than a grease, still, in the case of kar and keset, we still are makpid that it has, in order for it to qualify as a possible ketem that came from a bug, it would need to be that it does not have the grease. It would still have to qualify, in other words, shear-wise. Plus, it would have to be round. Because if it's round, then there's a possibility that it came somewhere else. From inside, it would have been elongated. So even though she put it underneath the car, if we see it's moshuch, the Mechaber says she's tmeya. And he adds the words shechaskosoi me'akinuach. The chazaka is that it came from the cleaning. After all, she did that. She actually was involved in checking herself, or in cleaning, in this case, cleaning herself around that spot. Because if we say she actually checked inside, then there's no question about it. It's even more chomer. Here, the chiddush has been that even in a kinuach, we've seen before too, but a kinuach cleansing around that spot, there's a good chance that she, of course, somehow got the dam on the aid from the makor. The only exception to that was the taz. We said that if she does have hemorrhoids, she could be told that because of the proximity, the location she has the hemorrhoids to the where she. All right. So whether she checked herself or whether she cleansed herself, If it's under a kara kesed, we're a little bit lenient, but not so much. It all depends on the size, depends on the shape. Then we went on to another example where she actually pressed the aid after checking herself against her leg, and then the following day she discovers that there's some blood on it. Also, we said that if it's elongated, she's tmeya, and then we said even if it's a little bit. If it's round, then she's tahara, as long as, of course, there's no more of a stain. The size of the stain is no bigger than a gris. But what's interesting about Sif Lamed Hey was that it's more chomer than the one before, because there's no pillow here, there's no mattress here. So even though she pressed it against her leg, still the fact is that she checked herself. Because she checked herself, we're toile, or we assume that more likely than not that it came from her and not from somewhere else. With the pillow, you have something in addition. In other words, something that could possibly have contributed to the blood, because it happens that there's bugs there. We're not so makel when it's on her leg. In other words, when she pressed it against her leg. And we spoke about the Rambam. Rambam is always metame here, he's more machmir, and why he's more machmir, as it is, he's more machmir on dam, on a ketem that's found on the body. Still, as the Shach explains, that when it comes to these situations, these halachas, the fact that she checked herself, we're more machmir. In other words, in the yerech, especially in the yerech, because where were we mekel? Where were we toile in a macholet? Dafka, in the case of Sif Lamed Daled, there is that possibility. But the fact that we differentiate between moshuch and ogul, between elongated and round, is only because she checked herself. So we make that distinction. In general, he says, we look at something, when we look at stains, we don't make a differentiation between if it's elongated or if it's round. In other words, if it's less than a kik, she's tahara. Here, she has the disadvantage, we can say so, that she checked herself. So if it's elongated, raglaim ledavar. In other words, it's more indicative that more likely than not that it came from her. All right. So these were the halachas concerning her checking herself. But it becomes a little bit more complex when we're dealing with an aid she'eino boduk. An aid she'eino boduk means, this aid that she checked herself with could have been dirty from before. It could have had the blood from someone else from before. She never checked it. If she checked before, if it was so, we can understand. Well, it was before, and now it's not. Where did it come from? But what if she never checked it? So the Mechaber said in Lamed Vav that if it was an aid she'eino boduk, and this is a machlokes, even if she later on put it in a drawer, put it in a box, it was, nothing, it did not get contact with any that could have made it, and she found blood on it in a day or so, she's not tmeya, unless there's more of a gris. In other words, unless there's the stain of a blood which is larger than a gris ve'oid. In other words, the fact that she put it in the box could be that it was already, if nothing happened to it, it could have had the blood from before.
So if
right?
she uses an aid and she didn't check it, her tummy?
One more time?
She used an aid
right?
and she hasn't checked. He declared tummy.
So that's what we're going to be going over today. The Chaber just told us in this one seif, in the example of using an aid versus finding a ketem on a pajama which is the halacha going to be different. But here it's an exam. She did not check herself. And the question is, she did not check to see if there was blood on it, actually. She checked herself. But even if she put it into a box, into a secure place, so where did the blood come from? It could have, more likely than not, have come from her. Still, we say that since the aid was never checked, at least was not checked before to see if it's clean or not, there's an additional leniency that we say, it could have been dirty from before. So if it does not have more than a gris, she's not going to be tmeya.
So that's
that's still the condition.
more than a gris.
Cannot be. Yeah.
And so compared to this as a
That was always still the criteria. One of the criteria.
So Greece per tummy.
By the way, Greece, not Turkey.
Yeah, Cyprus.
Yeah, right.
So Greece would make her normally tummy.
More than a Greece, right?
More.
And here we're being introduced.
Even though it's more than a good tummy?
No, she would become Tmeya if it's more than a grit. Right, here.
So what's the...
Here, Bodko Atzmo Be'ei She'eno Boduku.
Right.
Right? Which, remember, we've been saying until now that because we're talking about Bodkos Atzmo, we're being Machmir all along. All of these examples are up until an age She'eno Boduk are Chumras. We were slightly lenient in the pillow, remember? Slightly. But we're still being more Machmir. Right, remember, we're
not...
not...
whether we're or not. It's more she'll be tummy.
Less, no, it's less than a grit as well.
Normally less than also.
Yeah, we will say it could be from...
no criteria. It's no threshold.
No, it's a threshold, and remember when we attribute it to a louse.
So it was more than...
Yeah, because then we say there's no such big louse. In other words,
so unchecked in its effect.
Well, unchecked means that perhaps, according to some opinions, we can be toilet, or we can suppose that it could have been dirty from before,
right,
and not necessarily from this one time. This is a possibility, and we're being mekel as it is in Ksomim. So the question will be: are we going to also be that lenient, b'dika with the aid? This is not just a ketim. Where did this come from? Well, we could be toilet on all kinds of things. Here she checked, and it's not so partial. It's a machlokes, right? Because not everybody agrees with this. We're learning the mechaber for now. That the halacha is that as long as there's no gris ve'oid, she's not tmeya. Why? Because the aid was not boduk, which means it is possible that we can attribute it to all kinds of things that may have happened to this aid from before. It could have been exposed to, I don't know, to the marketplace. There were chickens there. It could have been used before to clean up some blood got on it from some other source. I mean, it could have been exposed to all kinds of things. So since it could have been, and we don't know, we say, you can be mekel. When we know for sure that this was clean, then we don't have that. So that's the big machlokes about something called Eid She'eno Boduk, which we're going to see a little bit more in depth when we talk about garments that are not boduk. An Eid She'eno Boduk really is not I would say it's not so common today. She checks herself usually with a brand new cloth. And something that has come out from the laundry, by the way, according to the Achronim, according to the Poskim, is considered boduk. Because you're grabbing something that most likely got rid of any stains that were there from before. And that's an important detail in the event that a woman is recycling or reusing cloth used before to check herself. So these are the halachas concerning aid. An aid which is the boduk or ena boduk. And in ena boduk we're more mekel because of the additional possibilities we can attribute this blood to. However, even in that case, we're going to be machmir if it's more than a gris. Why? Because after all, she checked herself. And since most dam is in her, we have to use here the law of probabilities. But the halacha changes very, very much when we're no longer dealing with her checking herself, when we're dealing with them on her robe, on her gown, on some garment that she wore. Then it could make a big difference if something was boduk or not boduk. All right, so that's I think what we can begin with now, and that's in Sif Lamed Ches. Eizu Eida boduk. We're still talking about an aid, but we want to clarify what's boduk and what's not boduk, because this will help us not only understand the halacha of the aid, of the checking with the aid, but also the halachas that follow. What's considered boduk and what's not considered boduk? So here we have a machlokes rishonim on what is considered. According to Tosfos and the Ramban, even if she checked it a day or two ago, and she left it in a secure place, and she's not going to check it before she puts it into her body. It was before she examines herself, she doesn't check it. Even though she already checked it once, it's called Eina Boduk. This is a very important position. In other words, the position of Tosfos and Rambam, as we're going to see, is a lenient position concerning the status of Eina Boduk. So once again, according to Tosfos and Ramban, even if she checked it 1 or 2 days ago, and she put it in a secure place. But now, as she's going to examine herself, she did not check it before she examined herself. That aid is considered lo boduk. And what's an aid boduk? That she checked it now, right before she examined herself, and she found that it was clean. And of course, it didn't leave her hand. It didn't go somewhere that it could have gotten dirty. According to the Rashba, an aid that she checked once, and she left it in a secure place, is called always an aid boduk until further notice. In other words, unless it really goes through some gilgulim, unless it moves from place to place where it could have gotten dirty from some other source. She checked it once, even though she's not checking herself now. Even though she's not checking it right now, it's called boduk. So what's an H-A-N-O boduk? Something that she never checked at all. She just grabbed something from somewhere in the house. She never checked it. That's ain't a boduk. It was not taken from the laundry. It was not taken from a place which she closed a drawer. She just grabbed the cloth from the kitchen. That would be an example of an H-A-N. But she once looked at it and it was clean. It stays so. It retains the status of an Eid Boduk unless something happens to it. Right? She took it to the marketplace. She took it with her somewhere where it was bloody.
To check herself.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Now, so an Eid that was never checked, she cleans herself with something that was never checked. Everybody agrees, that she's not Tmeya. It could very possibly be. And now that she's looking at it, this was already dirty from a long, long time ago. So on that, there's no machlokes. Right? Machlokes is she checked it once, okay, but did she check right before she examined herself? That's where the machlokes will be, and that makes a big difference. Because if you follow the Tosfos and the Ramban, you're going to be mekel, right? You're going to be much more lenient. What you're going to say is, if she didn't check the aid before she examined herself, the moment before, it's already Ein Baduk. Even though it was already checked before. You see how that would become a leniency? But if you follow the Rashba who says, no, once she checked it before, even though she hasn't checked it for a day, and it's in a secure place somewhat, and she's examining herself, but she didn't examine the moment before, it's still Baduk, it still retains its old status. And what difference? Well, we know by now that there's a big difference between Baduk and Ein Baduk. If something is Baduk, you're in trouble, because now it's not. It was clean, but now it's not. If something is Ein Baduk, I have the leniency of it could have come from somewhere else. So even though we're going to be switching over now to a robe in the next halachas, the Mechaber wants to make this distinction now as it applies to both, to an aid and to a robe. So he says like this, Eizu aid, according to the Mechaber, how does he pass? Eizu aid aboduk kol shebadot but kosoi ben chaverto, whether she checked it or her friend, velo noida shenichnas bo ketem. And we don't know of any keten that, affected it. And he's saying, velo hevirato b'shuk shel tavochim, neither she take it in a shuk shel tavochim, of butchers, velo b'tzada misaskim b'tzomim, neither did she take it along the way where there are people who are engaged in all kinds of ksomim. It's considered bechazoko that it's boduk. She didn't do anything to it that could have changed its status because it was in close proximity to butchers and the like. Then it still retains the original chazoko. So that is pretty much the Rashba. Whereas we have the other kula, the other position, the Tosfos and the Ramban. Now the halacha is like the Rashba. That's what the Mechaber says. But the pois can do right that sometimes if there is a tziruf, if you metzaref another leniency, you can also be metzaref the shita that is mekel here on what is boduk and what's ain't boduk. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to go to the next few halachas concerning an isha that lends her clothing to others. And when that happens, we have a real suffix, a real big suffix. Well, who's to blame here? Who says it's the first woman to who this robe belongs to? Perhaps The ketem, the stain came from the one that wore it later, the one that she lent it to. So this it becomes a little bit interesting here. Ein ha'isha tmeya mishum ketem, the mechaber in Sif Lametes. A woman is not tmeya mishum ketem as a result of a stain shem otzo bechaluka that she found, she discovered on her robe, on her garment, elam ken haya badukla kodim shelavashto, unless she had already checked it out before she put it on. Aval im eino boduk, if she never checked it from before. Aval im eino boduk kodim shelavashto, ulavashto, and she put it on, beloy bdika, without checking it, umotzabo ketem, and she found a ketem, tehora. So in this first example, only she's involved. There's no other person involved. But we still have the distinction, the differentiation between if she checked it from before or not. If she did not check it from before, the halacha is very, very clear that it's considered not boduk, and therefore she's not tmeya. Now, according to the Rashba, this is no chiddush. What's the chiddush here? What did we just say about the Rashba? The Rashba says, what's boduk? If she at least checked it once, right? Here it says clearly, she didn't check it. So according to the Rashba, this is not a problem. So what's the chiddush here?
So in other words, you're concluding, otherwise there will be no chiddush and now claiming immediately.
No. You know what's the kol sheken here? The kol sheken according to the Rashba is if the Rashba said his halacha by an a, she checked herself there, and then even that he said if it was not boduk, he's not tmeya. Kol sheken didn't check herself. She just wore something that was not boduk. So according to the Rashba, this would be, I don't know if it's superfluous is the right word.
That's what I'm saying. That's
right.
what I'm saying. So you have to presume that in the previous Mechaba did not mean that she has to have checked a kula that applies to a robe and not to an aid. By an aid, in other words, to make her tummy. But by a robe, you have now the additional leniency that she wore the robe.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, but I understand what you're saying. We don't understand.
According to the Rashba, who says even by it only mitzvah her, she uses it.
Right.
So then to him, here there would be
right. Exactly.
So if the Chama did write this, and supposedly as something that came just to repeat itself, then what in the previously.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the Poskim write a little bit differently.
Yes.
But the Mechaber is saying that this is the chiddush here is that even according to the Poskim who are metame, right, not the Rashba, be'ed she'eino boduk.
Right.
There are those that are metame, right? Be'ed she'eino boduk. There are those. Right. Right. There are those who are she'eino boduk. Here, at least here, they would be masking. They would be metire. That if it's on her, right, on a chalukah, they're not going to be as mach. So that's the chiddush here. There we're talking about an aid, and even...
That doesn't explain why here he expressly no such mention.
One more time, the what?
What you just drawn.
Right.
Does not explain why here he does something that she's doing right before wearing it.
Right, here...
Why would he add to this kodem shelavashto here, kodem shelavashto?
Over there in Lamed... No, Lamed Ches it says kodem.
So it doesn't say kodem shelavashto.
No, because Lamed Tes we're talking about. Lamed Tes we're talking about a robe, a garment.
Right. So what?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't mean. But why does he say?
No, it doesn't say immediately. It just says kodem. It could have been a day or two before.
But he didn't say first.
Lamed Ches, there's no garment. There's just an aid.
So an aid, right? But before she used it, doesn't make such a thing.
It doesn't, because according to the Rashba, as long as he checked it once. It's called an Eida Boduk, right?
But so
it's Becheskes Boduk, right?
The Rashba, no, the Rashba, no.
No, the Rashba was as long as you checked it, even though you didn't check it right before.
But she becomes Tamil, that's being lenient.
No, he's Machmer.
Lenient.
The Toises in the Ramban.
Oh, that's why you did what I was saying.
Right. Right. So no. The Rashba is the Machmer one. So that's why.
So the Rashba she checked it.
So according to the Rashba, which the Mechaber follows, what's the chiddush here? The chiddush here is that even according to those who are metame be'eino boduk, which the Rashba is mekel on, eino boduk, right? Eino boduk. But even those shitas, there are those that are machmir by Eino Boduk still. Here, they would be metayr.
So here you're saying with the robe, Kodem Shelevashto means...
Yeah, but here we're not...
Doesn't make sense.
Why?
Because so
It's not a half an hour before.
Kodem Shelevashto is any time. I mean, obviously she checked it before, not after she saw the
Then if she checked it, let's say a couple days before.
And what if she checked it after she wore it?
No, she always checks it after she wore it. She sees
No,
something,
but she
right?
doesn't see it. No, let's say she wore it, not Kodem Shelevashto. She put it on, now she checked it, no kit, and then a half an hour later there is...
No, same thing.
So why is it say Kodem?
Well, because...
Not to exclude this where she had already...
Well, when does she discover a ketem? After she wore something. Or after she took it off.
No,
yeah.
we're talking about when she discovered the ketem, what robe?
She had been voiding the robe before, from sometime before.
She already wore it and then she was...
Regardless.
But then why does it say before, if it's regardless? It says before.
Because usually that's how it...
But who cares if usually or not? He's formulating here a halacha.
She just bought something new. She bought something new from the store.
You're making up case that he's not talking about. He didn't say she bought something new. He says expressly before she put it on.
Right.
So does he want to exclude after she put it?
No.
So why is he saying before she put it on if he doesn't want to exclude it? I mean, literally, before she put it, exclude.
Because the first time it could have appeared, the first time a suffix could have happened, is after she took it off.
But it could have also have happened that she checked it after she put it on. And it was clean.
Yeah, but that's not the case.
And then there was
but that's not the case.
Who cares it's not the case? Who says it's not the case? No, but...
That's not the case. That's not the way he worded it.
If she checked it before on.
Right.
And now she finds a ketem on it.
She would.
Right. So why is he excluding it?
How?
Saying before she put it on. Because he's saying expressly before she put it on.
All he's saying is that if she checked it, and she discovers after taking it off that there's a ketem, right?
That's
She's
not
three.
That's not what he's saying. He's saying literally. Baka kodem shelavshto. Haya badukla kodem shelavshto.
Look, let's read it. Ein haisha tme'ah, she's not unclean, mishum ketem shematzah b'chalukah, that she found in her chaluk. Now, when did she find it in her chaluk?
No, that's
when. One second. Before. When did she find this ketem in her chaluk?
You didn't say.
Yeah, but
you were just reading out what he was saying. You understand what he was saying? Don't start up
a woman is looking at her chaluk right now, and she sees a ketem.
That's not what he's saying.
Yeah, sure.
See ketem on
Yeah, right.
if she was still wearing it. But if she's still wearing it.
No, it is.
It's got to be when she took it off. But the question is, but the status of the cloth.
Yeah, but it doesn't really, you're right, but it doesn't really make a difference when, I'll tell you why. She takes it out of the drawer now, okay? Says, wow, look at this stain, okay? Or she took it off. Oh, look at this stain. Regardless, it makes no difference.
But he says what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She put it on with a bedika.
Of course.
So that means she put it on without a bedika. Not she looked at it 2 weeks ago or a week ago. So he says here expressly shika.
Yes, we said that. We said that.
So was your question that?
Yeah, we said that.
So you said he's talking about a case where putting it on are time.
Who says?
No, not necessarily.
That's what he says.
Elam ken haya badukla kodem shelevashto. Okay? It has to have been badukla before she put it on. When was it badukla? According to the Rashba, even 3 days before. What you're saying is that...
The sentence continues. He doesn't make a full stop there.
One more time. Ein haisha tme'ah mishum ketem shematzah b'chalukah. A woman can become tme'ah if she finds a ketem on her chalukah. Right? She could be, right? We don't know when. No. He'll tell you when. He'll tell you what else do you need. In other words, don't assume a woman will become tme'ah because of a ketem shematzah b'chalukah unless you need this important condition.
Yes.
In other words, we know other criteria. We know coloration, we know size, we know all these things. And right now we're talking about a new chiddush, a new halacha, about something called boduk versus she'ina boduk. So Isha will not become tmeya, regardless of what you see on her beged, if she never checked it. All right? Elaim ken haya badukla. This garment had to have been at some point. This garment that has to have been checked kodem shelevashto, before she just put it on. Okay? If
that's what I'm saying. That's exactly.
Yeah, but she's not checking it before she's putting it on. Yeah,
She
yesterday.
just put it on.
She checked it yesterday.
Changed it.
No, but that's the Rashba.
No,
what's the Rashba?
But we're looking at the Mechaber.
You know, with the Mechaber, you can't be medayik ad kedei kach. All he's doing is following the Rashba.
But he's continuing and he's
Right?
saying, this
He's
is,
not changing opinion. He's not going like the Tosfos and the Rabban.
There's
Yeah.
an opinion in it.
Okay, but it's not poshut like that.
But look how he continues to say.
אלא אם כן היה בדוק לה קודם שלבשתו. אבל אם אינו בדוק קודם שלבשתו, if this garment, the status of this garment is such that it's called אינו בדוק, before she put it on, in לבשתו she put it on, בלוי בדיקה, ומצא בו כתם, טהורה. Yeah. Then she's considered clean. Okay, I know what you're saying. What you're talking about is why does the Mechaber add the words below bdika again? Maybe that's what's bothering you. Is that what's making it difficult for you?
Well, it seems to me that in order for it to become Tamid, the condition is
the only one
must occur throughout the day.
The one that wants to make a chilek over here is the Taz. He wants, because of the wording of the Mechaber, there's a little bit of a long Taz over here that wants to say that the Mechaber is only makel if she took that chaluk from a place where there's other stuff that's dirty and bloody. But everybody's cholik on it. The Mechaber seems to be going clearly with the Rashba, that it was checked before, it's checked. If it's not checked before, it's not checked. That's all. But I understand perhaps from the second phrase that he says again below bdika, that it's a little bit questionable as to why he's saying it that way.
Exactly. What was the Taz again? You said
the Taz wants to say, because of the way the wording of the Mechaber, that the Mechaber was makel here only if she took it from a place where domi mitzuyim, that there's bloody clothing or dirty clothing, and only there he's makel. Because it's not. But what that means is that it's not checked at all. Not only is it not checked, it's obviously it could have become dirty from somewhere else. But that's the pashtus is not what the Mechaber is saying. That it had to be from such a place. It could have been from a regular place. It was clean. I mean, it was a clean place, but she just didn't check it. It didn't have to be from a place that was very, very dirty. Because then everybody pretty much is in agreement that it could very easily be dirty from before. But the Mechaber seems to be going with the Rashba like before, that if it's not checked, it's not checked. And if she finds a ketem on a chaluk, we're going to be more lenient than we were by an aid. According to the Shitas that hold that this garment is considered eina boduk. After all, if it was not checked, never checked, then who's to say that it came from her now? Right? It's very possible that it came from somewhere else from before. So why be machmer her? Remember, Ksomim is the Rabbanon. She's not checking herself internally with the aid. Here, this is just her chaluk. All of a sudden, there's a stain on it. So this halacha is an important distinction between what renders a pajama or a robe tameh. Was it checked before? Because up until now, we don't really know this so much. She saw it. Well, where is it? What part of the dress is it? Remember that? Is it inside? Is it outside? Is it above her? Is it below? Here, the Mechaber is revealing to us when it comes to stains on garments. At some point, she must have seen that this dress was clean. She must have looked at it. If she did not examine it well, it could be that it was there before from something. So it's a big kula, but that's the halacha. Yeah.
Will you add the kula?
Doesn't make a difference. That's the chiddush of something that's not boduk. Something that's not boduk. Who's to say it's from this time around? It could have come from her, but maybe from another time before. Now, that's why I added earlier that something that's coming from the laundry is considered boduk. Remember, something that's coming from the laundry, that means it was cleansed, especially with our laundry in today's time, where it goes through wash and cycles, and all kinds of detergents, more likely than not, everything is gone that may have been there from before. And so she sees it now, and she just took it out from the laundry, from the clean laundry, that is. Then the poskim say that would be considered boduk. So if she sees it now, she would be tmeya, of course, on condition that it meets the other criteria of what makes a ketem tomeh. Right.
Use that word.
Chalukah, right.
Chalukah.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about anything.
Well, there's a difference whatever around talk.
No,
And something
no. Remember this halacha. No, it's a good question, but this halacha is clarifying. It's building on what we've learned before.
Right.
There are quite a few criteria to make her tmeya that are necessary. Comes along the Mechaber and tells us, "Ein ha'isha tmeya mishum ketem shematzo bechaluka." So I'm used to tell you, all that you've learned, put it on hold. This is assuming that she knew at one point, that what she has in front of her was clean. If she never had that information, that knowledge, even once, then it could be it was dirty from before. Did she look at it? Where did she grab it from? Where was it? It's another form of attributing it, as we're going to soon see when we're dealing with other women. There's other possibilities out there. With aid, she's checking herself, examining herself. It's more complicated because to be toilet on something else is very difficult. More likely than not, it did come from her. Comes along the Mechaber and says, yes, but there's something called boduk ve'eno boduk that you also have to keep in mind. If it's not boduk, it could have been dirty from before. Maybe somebody else wore it. I mean, there are various possibilities, depending on the circumstance. Here we're talking about herself, not a neighbor, not a friend, and so forth. Still, it could have been dirty from before. It could have gotten dirty because of where it was. Right? So that's why the Mechaber makes this chiluk right away over here. So we should understand that this is a significant kula, an additional kula, in the Hilchos Ksomim. Now, the circumstances always have to be evaluated, because it could be, it was in a drawer for a long time. Yeah, but what's in that drawer, right? When was the last time she saw it? So when one comes up with this question, when this question arises, when she presents this question to her husband or to a Rav, we have to ask a few questions. When was the last time you saw it? Did you see it? Did you ever look at it? Where was it sitting? We have to look at the whole picture. If there's a chance that it could have become dirty from before. Sometimes it's difficult to tell also if something's fresh or old. And that is why it's more complicated. If something is boduk at least once from before, we're not going to tell her, fine, this and another. It was boduk last time she checked one. So we're going to say, yeah, there's a chance it came now from you. But the chiddush here is, again, that she will not become Tameya, where in other places she would be, if she never saw, she never examined it properly, looked at it, How could that be? She picked it out of a whole bunch of clothes. Something brand new usually does not have a stain on it, especially the way they package it today. So that's another important detail. Brand new. Is that considered, even though she didn't open it up to see if it's clean or not. But we know how stuff is packaged. We know it's a brand new. Very good point. Very good point. Excellent. Yeah. Used clothing would be an issue versus something brand new. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So would she be required, literally required, to avoid this issue, or maybe she'd be better off not? Seriously.
Yeah. She doesn't have to check, but it's going to make a difference,
yeah.
Obviously, if she did or not. And this will make a difference too in the following halachas. Let's quickly see a few more halachas here. Botko chaluko. She checked her robe, ufashtato, and she removed it. Umotzo tehora, and she finds that it's clean. Vihish'ila lechaverto, and she lent it to a friend. Belovsho, and the friend put it on. I'm sorry. Yeah. So she lent it to her friend Melicha, she put it on, Matza bo ketem, and she found the stain. Harishono tahora v'ashniya tmeya. The first one is tahora and the second one is tmeya. So here you have really, what's interesting about Sif Mem is that you have two bdikas. Botko, chaluka before she put it on. Fashato umatzah tehora, she took it off and she finds that it's clean. And then she lent it, and after her friend put it on, there's a stain. So this appears to be easy. The first one is tahara. There was no stain before. And now there is. Well, where did it come from? Hashniya tmeya. So here we have two bdikas. So the Achronim explain why does the Mechaber word it this way? Because there's various nafkaminas, there's various differences. If she did not check before she put it on, then Poshet she would be tahara. Remember? If she did not check the first time, that's called Eino Boduk. You follow? If she did not check it before she put it on her first time. Here we're talking about she checked it herself twice. Checked it twice. Before she put it on and after she took it off. Why say that? Why check twice? Why should the Mechaber talk about checking twice in this? So there's different opinions as what the Chiddush here is. The Poshup Pshat is that if she did not put it on, if she did not check herself the first, then obviously it would be Tahara because it's Eino Boduk. For her, it's Eino Boduk. And remember, if something is Eino Boduk.
So why isn't Eino Boduk for the second one? Before she put it on and after she took it off? And
no, the first one inspected it after she took it off. Yeah.
Right? But the second one did not.
Because one of them, good question, it came from one of them. So it's not. If it's not from the first, it's from the second. You follow me?
But that would be true with previous halacha.
No, but that you don't have another woman in that case. Here you have one of them is tmeya.
Even better, you only have one woman, and after she left before, so we say it's okay.
Right, because it could have been there from before, right?
Right.
Here she checked herself after she took it off. The second one, as soon as she puts it on.
But there's going to be some time period. The first one is not going to take it off in a meeting. There's going to be time period.
There's going to be some.
So why do we say Sheina Buddha for the second one? She didn't loan it to her friend.
Right.
Not immediately.
Yeah.
Why do we say Sheina Buddha for the second one?
Because wasn't this garment checked?
But chewing it or on the garment being checked?
The garment being checked. Apparently, I mean, that's
but there's a time period.
But you're right, very good question. Even if there's a time period, if it was not placed in a location where it could have become soiled, it's a checked garment.
That's a big...
It was clean. And one of them is unclean. And who's it going to be? More likely the second one.
Clean from the first one.
Right.
Now to get rid of this happens, then the only then it is presumed clean until the second one discovers. If she discovers the spot on it after she already wore it,
the second one.
Right. Then it still continued to be in the
Boduk.
Right, in the status of Boduk, because there was no event that would remove the status of Boduk from the first.
Yeah. But you know, the Taz says something very cute here. I don't know if I should use the word cute, but he says, you know what? In this situation, in the situation where she did not check her, the first woman, she only checked it off once she took it off, even the second one would be tahara. He says like this, the Taz here says, if she did not check herself the first time, he says, trust me, she did not do a good checking the second time either.
She was scot-free anyway.
Exactly. How did you know? You're right. Because she knows that it wouldn't make a difference anyway. So why should she check so well after she... He says, she didn't check herself the first time. Then her second, when she took it off, she probably didn't do good checking. And that would make the second woman tahara too. I don't know if too many agree. But that's his opinion, yeah. But we're learning Pashup Shad. According to I think the consensus here, that if she did not check herself the first time, then she may be tahara, but the second one would be tmeya.
When a woman buys...
So in other words, so that's Pashut. She didn't check herself. Right?
Going back to the used clothing.
Yes.
and that was she'eno baduk, so we say she's still tahar.
Right.
So why don't we use the same example?
But that person, yeah, that's what we said, but that person checked
We
it.
don't know whether the person...
No, but we know. We're talking about we checked. Because right now we want to know which woman is going to be Tmeya. And the first one says it. It's not me, because I checked myself before and after.
So they both at the same time to the
Well,
no, usually.
Yeah, the question comes up. Listen, this is a very important question, because who needs to go to the mikveh here?
Right, no.
Right now, so this is really relevant in a sense. There's a question here. I lent it to her. Oh, you're Tmeya, right? So that's what we have to figure this out. Anyway, so the Achronim explained that if she did not check herself before she put it on, that's posher that she's Tahara. Because even if she put it on, even if she found the ketem later, because she didn't check herself before, it's Eino Boduk. So that's posher. So what's the idea of here mentioning it, that she checked herself twice? Is because of another situation. She checked herself the first time. She did not check herself the second time. And then the second one put it on and found the ketem. They're both Tumeya. Okay? She checked herself the first time. It was Boduk. But she did not check herself. Did not check it, I should say, after she took it off. And then she lent it before checking it. Then they're both unclean. Misafek. We don't know which one it is. It could be either one. In that case, no one is better than the other. As soon as she took it off, she could have already had the stain then. So then in that case, they would both be Tmeya. The Prisha wants to explain over here that the second dikah that the Mechaber is talking about, why mention, what's the reason of checking it twice? The Prisha wants to say, even though not everybody agrees with it, that the second dikah, she checked herself. She checked the garment before, and when she took it off, she didn't check the garment, but she checked herself. According to the Prisha, perhaps this is the halacha, the Mechaber teach, that checking her body would be sufficient to consider that garment boduk. And she would be Tahara, and her friend would be Tmei. Taz and Shachar disagree with this. Checking her body would not really help her. In other words, it would have to be that she actually checked the garment. All right, we'll do just one more seif here, which is very, very interesting, and that is Lov Seif Nan Aleph. Lov Shal Chaluka Haboduklo. So she put on a chaluk that was, as far as she knows, it was clean. She checked it once. Ufashato, she removed it. Vishilato Israelit Niddah Olovedet Kochavim. Shigia Zmana Lirot. And she lent it to another Jewish woman who was a Niddah, or to a Goya who could already see. 12 years old girl. And that this girl, this Goya, who could already potentially see, and she already at least saw once. Even though this Goya is not seeing now, doesn't have her period when she's borrowing this garment. And sometime later, when she gets this garment back, the Jewish woman looks at it and sees a stain. She says, you know what? It must have been from a woman who was a Niddah that I gave it to her, or from this Goya, Utahara. And she's clean. The same thing is also in Badakto. She checked it. Vishilato lahen, and she lent it to him. V'achakach lavashto, and then she put it on again. Umatzabo ketem, and she found a stain. Still, even if she put it on after she got it back from them, she can attribute it to them. And this is true even if it's during the sfira, the counting of the 7 clean days. Now 7 clean days, we'll learn this later on, is a very delicate period. A woman has to be completely clean. No stains are allowed. During the first 3 days, according to the Ramah, we don't even attribute it anything else. Sometimes you can be toilet, then you can be toilet this, you can do toilet and that. But in the first 3 days, the Shiva Neki, the Ramah is machmir, that we're not toilet and anything. So, what the Chiddush here is that even though it's during the Shiva Nekiyim, she can be toilet still. She's supposed to be clean. There's still a possibility that came from her. We say, no, you can still be toilet on that woman that you gave it to, the Niddah or the Goya. Unless, like the Ramah says, that Ein lekamon simen kuf tzadik vov the begimel yom rishon sheshiv benekim ein makilim beksom litos bedavar achar. To remote, first 3 days of the 7-day clean period, we're not makilim, we're not toiling some at all. Litos bedavar achar. Okay, but let's just move away from that for a moment and try to analyze what's going on over here. The big chiddush over here is that the tliya here, attributing it, is on the one that's the most mekulkal. Because if we're talking about a suffix here, and it's a suffix derabanan, right? Whose ketem was it? We're toile, the kilkul, and the mekulkal. We're going to say something is mekulkal here. Somebody's tomato. Well, who should we blame? We're going to blame or put the blame on the one that's already mekulkal. Who's that? The Niddah. She's a Niddah. Or a Goya. As the Shach explains, since they are mekulkolim already, then it's very possible, there was a good chance that it was from them, even though we don't know for sure. So we assume it's from them.
Even she didn't see any of her own blood, any of her own dam during the time that she wore the item?
Who's she?
The second wearing
Right.
whoever.
Yeah. Even though right now she's not a Niddah.
And she doesn't,
She's already mekulkeles.
automatic.
The Goya, yes.
Okay.
Whereas a woman, if this second Jewish woman, if she doesn't have her period, nothing. They're both, we said before, they're both mayas in that. If she didn't check, if she checked. If she didn't check, it's something else. But if she checked, so here, what did we say? Lov shachaluka haboduklo, right? So we would think, you know what? There's a chance that came from her, and because of that, maybe we have to make her tmeya. No, in this case we don't. In this case, there's additional kula of toilem et kilkul b'mekulkelet, toilem et kalkola b'mekulkelet. The kalkola here, that which is going to render the individual tmeya, we're going to push it or attribute it to the one that's already mekulkal. That's an additional leniency in Hilchos Ksamim. In other words, we have to decide which one is it. This one is already mekulkal, put it there. As opposed to if they're not mekulkal. There are situations where they're not exactly mekulkal, even though we're machmer. As we're going to see later, one of those examples is dam besulim. Dam besulim is the blood that comes out from a woman whose besulim have ruptured, and that minatora is not dam tomeh. We're machmer, right? We're machmer that that dam is tomeh. So that's a little bit of a different kind of a situation, as opposed to, or dam toyar will be another example. A woman who has dam toyar, the clean blood, after she has given birth. It has a different status minatora, even though today, in our day, we treat it as dam. But the status of that dam is different according to minatora. So we will see that it's going to make a difference of whether a woman really has a real period or she's seeing dam besulim, dam toyar, and so forth. Her status is really different, minatora. In other words, if somebody is considered a mekulkelet or not, will make a difference. Because we're not going to be toilet the kilkol on something that is really not mekulkal, even though we're machmer. Follow? An example of where, let's say, a woman is expecting her period. She's not mekulkal yet, right? She doesn't have her period, but she's expecting. Isn't it more likely than not that it came from her? No. She's not mekulkeles yet. To take this kula is only where we can attribute it to something that's already mekulkal. Otherwise, they're equal. In the case of two examples. Otherwise, we're not going to say one is worse than the other one. And therefore, they may be both tmeyas. It was checked. It was batuk to her, as we saw before. So this is a big chidush in that lending her garment to someone else, it could be possible, but if she checked it, even though she checked it for herself, we are going to put the kilkul on that which is already mekulkal and say, more likely than not, it came from. Okay, Hashem will continue.